Hello and welcome to the second episode of the IndieSider podcast, where we combine Let's Plays of indie games with developer interviews. My name is Ken Gagney, and this week I'm playing Breaker's Yard from Dan Dudchnick of Protophant Games. We'll be speaking with him later in the episode, but for now, let me show you what this game is like. This is in fact a game I bought an Xbox 360 wireless adapter for my Mac for, because I want to be able to play this twin-stick shooter with my Xbox 360 controller. So, as I said, it's a twin stick, which means I can move in one direction and shoot in the other. I can shoot in any direction I want. Left stick is move, right stick is fire, and all the other buttons do nothing. It's just the twin stick. So I need a rope and a catapult for this old man. So there's the catapult. I need to find a rope. And there's the rope. So I already have it. And now if I go to the old man, he says, "Yay, thanks." Or actually, I can just put it right there. And it catapults me to the next level. Whether or not I was done with that first level, doesn't matter. I am off to the races. When I land, I destroy some enemies, and then I have my gun, and I can use it to destroy all these other things. There's a power up there, and you can see in the upper left-hand corner, I have two different weapons now, a magnet and a missile, it looks like. And these are weapons that can be combined, so now I have 4 different weapons. And the attributes of each weapon stockpile, basically, so that I can have multiple attributes at once. So right now my guns are doing 5 different things. I think the magnet is a homing weapon. You can see that it kind of curves a little bit to go after the enemies. And the missiles are super powerful, and there is a spread weapon, which shoots 3 instead of 1, like an old Contra game. Not entirely sure what all of them do, but there are 7 weapons, I know that for sure. So there are 128 different combinations. So this looks like an old junkyard I'm in, a lot of broken down cars. I can destroy these pretty quickly. Anytime I pick up any one new weapon power-up, all my weapons get recharged. And when I run out, I go back to my basic weapon, which has infinite ammo. Now, there is no melee weapon that you can use. So if these enemies touch you, you lose a hit point, and you have 3 hit points, as you can tell from the upper right corner. I'm destroying that car just to get out of the way, to have direct access to the enemies. These little mountains or volcanoes are like the monster generators in Gauntlet. So you want to destroy those if you want to stop the enemies from appearing. There's a fridge. I don't know what that is, but I hope it'll be dead soon. There it goes. Those almost look like little Tetris pieces I'm firing. I don't know what those bullets are. I'll have to ask Dan about that. So basically, you go through each level looking for the rope, and then you give that to the catapult, and it allows you to move to the next stage. In this case, the rope was right where I started, but I kept playing because I wanted to get a higher score. Right now, my score is 938. Just went up 200 for finishing the level. My high score is about 3,600. I was playing this at the Boston Games Forum with Dan watching. And when I finished the game, I had the high score for the day, but then somebody else beat me by a couple hundred. He got up into the 4,000s. And so I need to correct that oversight and get the highest, best possible score I can. Now, when you get the rope, you can... No, not burn it to destroy the boss. That's a different game. You can go right to the next stage as soon as you get the rope, if you want. As soon as you get the rope and find a catapult. Oh my goodness, 1 shot and I died. Well, I need to do that again. I didn't realize that the enemies could be that powerful. There are also very few enemies that have projectile weapons. Most of them are melee. They touch you and you lose a hit point. But that guy shot me, and with a single shot I died. So that was not very cool in my opinion. Now, like I did right there, you can get the rope and move right to the next stage right away. I choose to do a little bit more exploring to get a higher score, to find power-ups. There really are no power-ups other than the... Whoops, see, I got hit and I lost a heart. There are no power-ups other than the weapons, and I just picked up a heart, so now I'm back at full health. And all the power-ups are temporary. I don't think there are invincibility shields or fleet-footedness like there is in Smash TV, or like there are. But Smash TV is certainly another classic twin-stick shooter. One that I grew up playing in the arcades and on Super Nintendo. On the Super Nintendo, which of course didn't have any joysticks, just a D-pad, and only had one of those, they allowed you to do the twin-stick approach to gaming by using 2 Super Nintendo controllers, and you actually turn them sideways so that they would fit in your hands. And that was pretty epic. I mean, I remember people would see me playing Smash TV on the Super Nintendo, and they're like, "You're playing with 2 controllers at once? Wow, you're like left-brained and right-brained. That's amazing. I've never seen that before." That's because they'd never been to the arcade and never seen a twin-stick shooter, but still, playing with 2 controllers is pretty cool. See, that's the thing that I think shot me, and I just got hit again by something and lost a hit point. I think Dan has made this harder since I played it at the Boston Games Forum. Because there's no way... Whoa, that's an awesome weapon. That's the thing that killed me. And now I'm killing absolutely everything. This destroys almost everything with 1 hit. I don't want this to ever end. Okay, now this little mug of sarsaparilla juice, I guess, is what I can give to the old man, and he will open up the gate and give me treasure. Oh, that undid my weapons. That's not a cool power-up at all. What the heck happened there? And there's the rope. And I have pretty much finished this level, so I'm ready to move on. Sometimes the rope is hidden under a tire, and I really don't enjoy that approach because it makes it hard to find. You can just scour the entire level of enemies, and you're still having to just walk around this empty, barren stage trying to find the rope. And that's kind of boring, but I've only seen that happen once. These stages do appear to be randomly generated, which is why that only happened once, that the rope was hidden under a tire. It hasn't happened again. What is with the fridge? Or is it a printer? PC load letter? I really don't know what's happening here. Okay, so this weapon seems to freeze enemies before it kills them. I prefer the more direct approach. And there's the thing that killed me last time, I think, with his giant bomb. I totally need him to be dead. And then I can get his bomb and destroy everything. Oh! Something is freezing. I think I'm walking into my own bullets, and thus freezing me. That is super annoying. So I really can't walk in the direction I'm shooting, because I'm faster than a speeding bullet. Okay, and there I go again. You'll also notice that I have just 1 hit point left. So I need to find... Oh, there's a power-up. That should give you some health back. If I can get to it without getting killed. There. Oh! Okay. And I'm still freezing myself. I wish I could get rid of that power. Oops! I was looking at my ammo and wasn't looking where I was going, and I got hit by an enemy and lost the hit point I just picked up. I would really like to give that guy his wine or whatever and get access to that treasure. Okay, there is the catapult. Still got to find the rope and the wine or moonshine. Perhaps that's what it is. I doubt the old man is really all that particular. Now I'm about to run out of weapons, so unless I find a power-up, I'm going to lose all these... Aww. Oh, here's a power-up. If I had just picked that a moment later, I would have had my super explosive bombs for a little bit longer. But I got rid of the freeze ray, which was probably going to ultimately be my downfall, my undoing. So I'm actually kind of glad to be rid of that. And here are some unknown power-ups, none of which seem to be freezing me in my tracks, so that's good. Although, actually, I think it's freezing them, but since it's lacking that explosive bomb, there's no explosion for me to walk into. It's just direct contact with the original projectile, so that's good. I wonder if Dan designed it so that certain... Oh, no! Combinations are less appealing than others. But that's roughly how you play Breaker's Yard. I usually do a lot better than that. You have 3 playable characters here, all with pretty much identical attributes. So let's try again, but this time with Dan joining us. Joining me on the line is Mr. Dan Dujnick of Protophant, developer of Breaker's Yard. Hello, sir.
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Excellent. So we met at the Boston Games Forum, and I obviously had a great time playing your game. I bought the Xbox adapter just to play your game, because it's kind of hard to do a twin-stick shooter with just a keyboard.
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter, and I immediately retweeted. I was like, it's great to see people actually liking the game. one of the things that came out of that was actually I started working on a high score system.
Ah, excellent. Some leaderboards.
Yes, exactly. Like it was not a priority until recently, but I spent like half the weekend trying to figure out how to connect the database and set it up so I can actually see stuff online. It's way more work than I expected, but it's going to be worth it because I feel like it's going to really get people involved.
And when can we expect to see that?
Probably the next couple days or so, I hope.
Excellent. So this game gets automatically updated, what, weekly?
Automatically meaning, yeah, I do it. Yeah, about every week or two. Yeah, I post a new build and tweet about it and all that stuff. And it's definitely come a long way. But yeah, it's about since let's say January, it's been about every week or so. Yeah.
Is that when the first version rolled out?
No. The first version was the very first prototype was like December 2012, and then starting in like April of 2013, I moved to Unity and I started posting every build back then. You can go back and even play all the old builds if you want. The first one is just like a dude running around and shooting stuff, but there's a couple of things that are still actually from that original build in the game now.
Wow. So what are some of the most significant changes in the past year or so?
Let's see. Biggest was adding the weapon system. The combination of the weapons. So you can get the triple shot, or you can get the drill shot, or if you get both of those, you get the triple drill shot. And on top of that, there's ones for like the bomb shot, the freeze shot, all the other stuff. And that's like basically the core of the game. And I've been working really hard on that. And the other major feature that I started was the random generation of the levels, the procedural generation of the levels. So like those two things together, really up until that point, up until those two features came in, it's kind of that phase of game development where you're like, what am I actually doing? Where is this going? Why isn't this fun yet? And then once those two really came into their own, like it actually started being fun. People would play it and actually really enjoy it at the playtest sessions. You know what I mean?
Now, I'd never seen a game where the weapons could be combined in quite this fashion. There are 7 weapons. I think that makes for 128 different combinations. So how did you come up with that?
I didn't come up with 7 in particular, actually. There's more in the hopper. My goal is to get as many as possible into the game. Like, one of the ones that's not in the game yet that I have the robot designed, but not completely built, is a flame bot who runs around and spits fire, and like the fire would remain on the level, so it would be like almost like a trap, so if you run into it, it would hurt you. But if you kill that robot, get its weapon, your weapon would also drop that stuff too, so you could hurt enemies with these little puddles of fire. There's no like cap to the number of weapons, but I kind of keep adding them as much as possible.
Now, I found that some combinations didn't work out so well. I was actually able to accidentally freeze or even kill myself. Was that intentional?
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's like I think of Breaker's Yard as a roguelike as well as a dual stick shooter. It's the kind of game where you like have to look at your surroundings and figure out what the dangers are, and sometimes the dangers are yourself as well. In Spelunky, you can plant a bomb to blow up a wall, but if you're too close to that, you're gonna blow up yourself. So in my game as well, I figured at least it was appropriate that you at least get hurt a little bit from the explosions of the bomb, and you also get frozen from your own stuff, but that doesn't hurt you though.
So there actually is some strategy involved where I have to think about whether or not I want to pick up a weapon.
Oh yeah, I mean, whether or not you want to pick it up, because the bomb is really effective for clearing a room, but it definitely changes the way you move,
Now, when I sat down to play this game, you asked me if I'd ever played a twin-stick shooter before, and I got the sense that you were expecting me to say something like Smash TV or Geometry Wars, and you seemed surprised when I said Robotron.
Like, Smash TV and Geometry Wars are like the games that really inspired Breaker's Yard. Robotron is one of those games that I've never played. I never actually found a way to play it. I've looked it up now that people keep talking about it. I'm like, oh wow, that is like basically like what would look like a big inspiration for it. But I had never actually played it until I heard about it from people who have been playing Breaker's Yard.
Oh, interesting. Since you live in the New England area, you should check out Fun Spot up in Laconia in New Hampshire.
Oh. Yeah, they have it?
Yeah, they have 300 machines all from the 80s, and they're all still just $0.25, and Robotron is one of them.
Nice. I actually went up there for my bachelor party. I did not play Robotron because I hadn't been developing it as much at that point, but that's awesome. I gotta go back.
Wow, that's exactly what I envisioned for my bachelor party, too.
It's perfect, man. You drink and you play, and you drink and you play.
Well, hopefully you don't mix the drinking with the go-karts across the street.
Yeah, that's a bad idea. No, don't do that.
So I noticed on your website you have a change log of your each week's update to Breaker's Yard, and some of the comments or changes that you're noting are rather obtuse to us end users, like cached all the possible names of the enemies for comparison. So
yeah.
So what do these changes mean, and why are you bothering to publish them?
Well, I mean, like the motto or slogan or whatever for Protophant, the company, is game development from scratch, and what that refers to is basically, I am making this up as I go along. Like, I don't have any formal training in programming or anything like that, except for like a C++ course I took back in high school. So all of what I'm learning is through a lot of research online and a lot of trying things that don't work. And when I was setting up this high score thing, I basically learned a little bit of PHP, like just to like be able to render high scores on a web page, just like today and yesterday. So like this is stuff that I'm like figuring out as I go, and like putting it out there, like, to me makes me feel like I'm like showing progress in a direction. And a lot of times that stuff is not necessarily, stuff that users want to know, but it's not necessarily targeted at the end user. It's, kind of targeted more at other game developers. What I want to be able to do, what I don't always succeed at, I'll admit, is that I want to be able to like take the fact that I didn't have this knowledge before and translate it and bring it to like other end users or people who think they might want to be able to play create games, and show the path in plain language. And sometimes it comes out obtuse because either I was in a hurry or couldn't find better words, because a lot of times like I'm not sure exactly like this is exactly right, because I don't know if you ever tried doing research on how to code something on the internet. Like there's what's misinformation.
Yeah.
There's good ways to code things, there's bad ways to code things, and the first search result you get on Google may or may not be a good way to do it. And what I want to do is not be part of the problem in that. So if I'm not sure what I'm doing is exactly right, and you can go back and look into some of my history, and I did like long explanations of something that was clearly a bad idea. I want to avoid that, because I don't want to like have other people have to struggle like necessarily, like on my account at least.
No, I totally appreciate that. I wrote one computer game in my life, and it was about 20 years ago. It was a dial-up BBS game, and this was before revisions and change logs. And I basically just have one copy of the game, and it's the final edition. And there are these obtuse 2-letter variable names that I have no idea what they represent anymore. And, 20 years later, if I wanted to go back and update this, or even just figure out what it is I did, there's no way that's ever going to happen.
Yeah.
So, even if this changelog that you're developing isn't intended for the end user, I can see how it's totally invaluable for you and potentially other developers as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's the idea. I mean, it's mostly a devlog. Like, I talk about what I'm developing and what I'm working on, because, as the game changes, like, the changes may not seem super significant as you go. Like, since we met at Boston Games Forum, there hasn't been a ton of updates that like are gameplay updates, but I've been working on optimization, which doesn't make for something super interesting to the end user. It just means the game might run a little better. And I've been talking to an artist, but I mean, until like those talks really settle out and like we actually get going, there's not really much to talk about. And I've been doing a lot of research and planning for the high score system, but that's also not that interesting. Like, yeah, yes, I've been reading. Maybe be okay as a tweet, you know what I mean?
So does this game have a version number, and if so, what are you at now?
The latest version is 62 is on the website right now. That's not like, revisions that are in my repository, my actual backup of it. That's just releases that I put on the website. So you can go back and go play the other 61 builds all the way back into, when it was just a dude running around, and then it's a dude running around with some walls, and then he can finally shoot, and then,
So at what point will you consider this game finished, if ever?
I hope to finish it. There's always nice to have an endpoint. Currently, I'm working on getting into festivals. I want to try and actually get it in front of people a lot more. I didn't make it into the Indie Mega booth at PAX Prime, but maybe next time. And what else is there? There's like Fantastic Games is what it's called in Austin. Fantastic Arcade 2014 in Austin. The deadline for that's today, so I'll be submitting to that. And just try to get my game in front of as many people as possible. And I'm thinking, hopefully by the spring. But the way because I work a full-time job and do this in nights and weekends, I think mid 2015 is probably a reasonable estimate. But definitely by the end of 2015, I want to be out of finished with this project and moving on to another, or at least like have this project released and in the support phase.
And what will the release version look like? Will it still be a web-based Unity game, or will there be a console port, iOS?
It's wherever I can get it. I would actually hope to get it on Steam. If I can put it on consoles, that would be pretty good for it, because it is a dual-stick shooter at the end of the day. You can't guarantee that somebody on PC is going to have a actual controller. You went out and bought one. God bless you. Thank you so much. But yeah, it's not something you can rely on. There are keyboard controls, and they're good. Like Binding of Isaac is another like roguelike top-down shooter, and you can move with the keyboards, and it works pretty well. But I still prefer like using the dual-stick controller. But yeah. So PC, consoles, if I can manage it, as much like that's part of what the whole like start going to festivals thing is about. I need to build momentum for the game, and I've only been starting to do that the past few months.
So since you're basically inviting people to play what is an unfinished game, what do you think about Steam's early access program?
I think it's great, and if I can get on it, that'll be great. It's like I said, it's about building momentum for the game. So getting onto Steam is going to involve getting more attention to the game and more people playing it, and just getting out there. You know what I mean? So I think it would be great if I could get paid along the way for development. Why the heck not? But it's just approaching that place where I feel like people would actually be amenable to that. If you played the version that I had a year ago, then if you go back in the archives and look, you wouldn't pay any money for that on early access. But maybe I really think I'm getting to the point where it's starting to get there.
Now, one of the attractions of Smash TV and Total Carnage were that they were multiplayer. Any idea about doing that for your game?
I've thought about it. I've thought about it a lot, and I think it could be really, really cool. It would probably be cooperative. That would be the first version I would do. I think it's really cool, but the game is not built for it right now at all.
Right, yeah.
I'd have to, yeah.
Yeah, that requires some significant restructuring.
For sure, yeah.
So, this is not your first game. I saw a couple others on your site. You've done a mod for Spelunky, and I also played something, I think it was called Cuddle Pit?
Yes. Cuddle Pit was a game jam game. Are you familiar with the Peter Molyneux Twitter account?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, it's just a joke account for Peter Molyneux, and he like has all these absurd game ideas, and I forget what year it was now. I think it was 2010 or 2011 that somebody had the great idea. Let's make a game jam based around the tweets of this Twitter account. And I believe the tweet for that game was like, you are in a place, surrounded by sad people, and the only way you can help them is with kindness. And we turned that into a penguin in hell hugging demons to make hell like a better place.
Aw, how sweet.
Yeah. Actually, the guy who did the music on that game, it kind of like Cuddle Pit has two, like one kind of like gloomy song and one kind of upbeat song, and they're the same song, but like in a different key. I'm not a musician, but they crossfade as you're making progress in the game. So if you're doing badly, the music gets really gloomy and dreary, but if you're doing well, it gets all like perky and happy, kind of like Garden of Eden kind of thing. The guy who worked on that music is like really talented, and his name is Anthony Castiglia, and he did the music that you hear in Breaker's Yard right now, actually.
Oh, excellent. I was wondering about that. Since you're not a musician, you obviously have people you're working with.
Yeah. So yeah, Anthony Castiglia is my audio guy, and also working with another audio guy, and starting to work with an artist. Yeah. The art I always have mixed feelings about, because I like the pixelated style, but I am aware that it's an acquired taste, you know what I mean? So I'm talking to an artist to hopefully get it done well, you know what I mean?
Excellent. And what comes after Breaker's Yard once you get this out the door?
I got. You always have ideas for other games and things. After Breaker's Yard, I feel like I would still be, working within the themes of like procedurally generated stuff and roguelike types of games, but applying it maybe to different genres. Because I look at these games, and to me, it's just a really appealing kind of gameplay mechanic that permanent death, and it just raises the stakes in a game to me, so that it's just a better experience. At least for me, those are the kinds of games that I like. I don't know if you know what NetHack is. NetHack is like one of those roguelikes, one of the original flavors of roguelikes, and I had to stop playing it because it was just so, like, games take so long to play and you get so invested in them that you could eat up and chew up an entire day just by playing it. I'm actually kind of thankful in a way that my 360 broke. I can't play Dark Souls 2 right now.
Thank goodness for small favors.
Yeah.
So what else are you playing these days, then?
People keep telling me that Breaker's Yard is like Nuclear Throne, so I went and bought Nuclear Throne, and it is like it. It's very similar in some ways. The whole post-apocalyptic thing, the low resolution of it, and the fact that you're running around and shooting stuff all the time. That's why, but still, like, the weapon system is still what I feel like is the core of Breaker's Yard and what makes it interesting, at least to me. And also in Breaker's Yard, you're going to have like these, you have the old man that you bring the jar to. There's going to be other NPCs you interact with as well. But I played the Nuclear Throne to get an idea of what else is out there in this genre now. And I also have been playing a little bit of Transistor, which you actually mentioned earlier. You didn't know of any other game that has that weapon combination system. That is exactly what's in Transistor.
So who stole the idea from who?
Oh, I don't think anyone stole the idea. Supergiant is a bunch of really talented people. They released it, I think, a couple months ago, and I was a little bummed at first. But I mean, I was like, oh man, like, people are gonna think that I'm ripping them off. We both came up with the idea at the same time. Is basically how I think it happened. And I mean, I look at how I implement it and how they implement it, and it's very different. Like in Transistor, you're going into a menu and you're saying, I want this to combine with this and put it over here, and there's slots. With Breaker's Yard, it's just snappy on the fly. Like, oh, now I have this, now I have this. It's picking up and combining just on the fly. So to me, it's a very different experience, even though like the idea is very similar.
Excellent. Well, it sounds like Breaker's Yard is a great combination of original ideas and ideas that you've inspired by Geometry Wars and the like, and I'm having a great time playing it.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you are. Thanks so much.
Well, thank you so much for your time. Dan, remind us where we can find you and your games online.
Oh, sure. It's all at Protophant. Everything's Protophant. So, protophant.com and at Protophant for Twitter. You can find the builds on my website and play them there. You can follow me on Twitter, and you'll hear about it every time a new build goes out. And yeah, just come on and play. There's going to be a new high score system soon, and meet your friends.
And we will see you at Boston Fig at MIT on September 13th?
I hope so. I don't know yet. That's a hope so.
Excellent. Well, I'll see you there, sir.
All right, great.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.